The state of crypto in 2025 is very negative. Most people think we're going into a bear market, and not very many people believe we're going to have an alt season ever again. So the question stands, Kyron, what altcoins would you personally want to be buying right now that you firmly do believe, whether we have a 2025 bull run, bear market, or just kind of coaster sideways until something else happens? Well, what would you buy? Okay, and so I wanted to make this video to address that first and foremost here, because I've had that question quite a lot recently, and it's a good question, I do think. You just want to be buying coins that you believe will stand the test of time and do well if we have a bull run or not. So make sure you stick around, because first of all, I do want to go into some of the general macro altcoin-esque things, and then we'll move into these 5 coins in just a moment. But of course, guys, do not forget, if you do find yourself enjoying this content and you want to support all I do, hit a like. But importantly, for your sake, make sure you are subscribed with that bell turned on, especially because over the next 12 months, I think things are going to be very dicey for the better or for the worse, and you need to be glued into the markets. So, with that being said, let's take a look very quickly at this chart. And I've pointed things out on this chart in a recent video, so I'm going to make this quite quick. Do not worry. So first of all, this chart shows the different alt seasons versus Bitcoin season. It pretty much pits up altcoins versus Bitcoin. So when this chart goes up, it's alt season. When this chart goes down, it's Bitcoin season. And what we do know is the green zones here, the last year of the 4-year cycle is always alt season. People have this big notion in crypto that the alt season index that has these chops every few months when it's supposed to be alt season, they think that's actually alt season. It's not. It's usually Bitcoin cooling off periods. Likely the actual alt seasons have only ever occurred really a couple times in history, and that is in these green zones, point blank period. Now we're in this green zone right now, but I can't call it alt season again until alts dramatically break out above Bitcoin, particularly over this trend line. This trend line in the previous cycle here was used as, of course, as a level of resistance. When it broke out, we did eventually have alt season starting exactly at the beginning of that 12 months in the 4-year cycle. So again, we're a little bit overdue right now, but it's not to say that things are going to be late. We could have this fractal right here play out in some degree over here before moving up. Or, as you can see, we can just go absolutely parabolic here very quickly over a few months. So this leads a lot of things into question, okay? Regarding time frames as well, how long it takes for us to go from the top to the bottom to the breakout and so on. Like, when is alt season going to happen? Well, in my personal opinion, macro is way more important right now than worrying about particularly when alt season will happen. That's why I've made it a point on my channel here to specifically highlight the macro events we're in right now and the catalyst that could pull us into a particular alt season. One of those I'll talk about in just a moment here, of course, as well. But as you can see, this kind of clarifies things for you a little bit further. It's just pulling up this chart here, but through, again, the 4-year lens, through euphoria, through the Bitcoin seasons, right? Bear market consolidation, start of the bull market, euphoria, bear market consolidation, start of the bull market, euphoria. And we can see here again, when this chart goes up past the middle neutral line here, that's clearly alt season, which is a good thing for us. But really, we only have true alt season in the green periods. Now, one thing I want to note here in this particular chart, which I did bring up on a recent video, is that these pumps that do occur here in the green zone, they're usually quite nice, let's just say, right? They're normally about 400%. You can see here, this down here was roughly speaking 400% as well. And again, that's a ratio to Bitcoin. So if we actually pull up this chart, you'll see that this is the same thing, but just look at the market caps. And obviously, altcoins rally in terms of a market cap much higher than what these show. What this chart particularly shows that this one doesn't is the relationship to Bitcoin. And that is true alt season, when Bitcoin does not gain more on alts than alts gain as an index on Bitcoin. So this chart just shows the market cap growth in this time. So based on this chart and this chart, what I did conclude in the research in this video is that I believe we can expect, if there is an alt season this time around, likely a pump to around a 2 trillion altcoin market cap. This does not include Bitcoin and Ethereum, but it does include stablecoins, which is quite amazing considering the last cycle we went through 1.1 trillion. So it's going to be more than that. Of course, people argue, well, we have more altcoins in this market, Kyron. What about more altcoins? It's going to be distributed over more alts. That is a fallacy. Most people do not buy altcoins, anything lower than the top 200, maybe even top 500 or 1,000. The rest of the money flowing down past those alts into the meme coins, micro caps, and some of these pump fund projects, they're like micro fractions of the market cap that are dispersed among many different coins. It's all in relative ratio, top 10, top 100, top 200, and so on. So this is going to be very good. Now, again, recent video, I spoke about this. It looks like some of our top 90 out of the top 100 coins will likely see a lot of money flow into them from there. So this is a very good sign, and this was me kind of being a little bit towards the realistic side of things. Again, if you can have a quick look, this actually takes into consideration here, sort of like this, this gradual lengthening cycle theory or diminishing returns theory. So I'm not over here expecting us to have, again, even half of the previous cycle's growth here. What I'm expecting us to have is maybe, 200-300% gains. Anyway, guys, you're here for the altcoins. So obviously you want to be looking at every situation for this bull run. Again, like I said, we could have a blow off top moment here. We could have an alt season still. This stuff is still in the air. Do not draw conclusions just yet. But we could also go into a period of kind of like a lull, right? Moving sideways, not too far down, not going up, just moving sideways here for a brief period and then going up or going down. Likewise, we could also just go straight down. But that's why it's important, if you are looking to double into altcoins right now, to take that bet, to be in the right ones. This is being in the right narratives. This is being in the coins that will last multiple more cycles from here, because they are looking to integrate within crypto and the real world, which is Web 2. So obviously multiple different narratives. I've outlined some of the best narratives here. In my personal opinion, 10 and 9 ranked narratives. I dare say Oracle probably shouldn't be a 9 anymore, probably should be an 8, and will likely, I think, have some of these, like I said up here, being the best. Anyway, here is what I'd probably focus on myself. I would focus on the coins that overlap the most in these areas. Ondo, Link, Algo, AVAX, Render, Helium, Graph, these sort of coins, HBAR. Of course, you can branch out further. Any of the coins on this list are fantastic. But what are the 5 coins I would personally look at? Well, first of all, let me make one thing very clear. In the worst possible case, if we move sideways, like I said over here, if we're in a state of so-called lull or boredom or moving sideways, I would just look at mainly getting into Bitcoin. I made a video about this recently, about my biggest mistake, about not playing Bitcoin in a time like this, in Bitcoin season. You can see here alts, every alt bleeds into Bitcoin for like years, 2-3 years. Okay, right now it's been consistent over the last 2.5-3 years. So it makes sense to go into Bitcoin heavily there, make a few multiples, as I mentioned on this particular video, and then in the next bull run, once we have a confirmation of the narratives and the best altcoins, then you can flip into alts and likely have slashed your overall multiple expectations in half or in a third. If Bitcoin 2 or 3x's from you buying roughly now, of course you don't need as many multiples with your altcoins. It just makes the most amount of sense. Use Bitcoin to do the heavy lifting, alts finish the job, essentially, right? But, of course, some of you guys are like, well, I want to buy alts now just in case we have a bull run. So fair enough, understandable. Here's the very quick answer for those of you who don't want to watch anymore. I wouldn't be worried if I owned these 5 coins. Ondo, Render, Link, HBAR, and ICP. Now, don't get me wrong. There are other coins that come in a very, very, very close second, third, fourth, and so on. This isn't a game where like these 5 are like by far in a way like 100 times better than the rest. Personally speaking, though, I would literally not be worried in the slightest if I owned these 5. Now, let me make one thing clear. I used to own HBAR. I do not own HBAR, and I do not own Chainlink. So I own Ondo, Render, and ICP. So I have no financial incentive to say this. It is just facts. These are the coins I've also ranked God tier, coincidentally enough. There's a reason why I've put them there. So first of all, I'll be very quick here. Chainlink, of course, it's $16. Some of you guys are like, well, how far can Chainlink go? It's a 10 billion market cap. That's the funny thing. Chainlink is at the very cornerstone of the transition from TradFi into crypto and vice versa. Like literally, Chainlink's been at this game for years now, well and well ahead of any other project in crypto, period. As a matter of fact, they're working right now with Ondo on the back end to bring on Ondo Global Markets, which is literally tokenizing equities, bonds, treasuries, everything, working with BlackRock and all the rest of it, to actually make this a reality, to actually bring on traditional finance to crypto. So I've pointed these guys out here before, of course, the Global Summit. We were talking about this, and this was my theory, and I still do believe this particular layer is likely what's going to happen. You got your products, you got the DTCC, we'll talk more about these guys in a second. You got your payments, banks, and so on, like Ripple, actually able to facilitate payments from the retail and institutional client. And then you have Chainlink connecting everything together. And then you have Ondo being the face, being the Ondo Global Markets, and so on. Now, the DTCC, who are these guys? This is essentially the very backbone of the US financial system. They process quadrillions of dollars every single year. And you can see this report was back in May 16 of 2024. They're piloting something called SmartNav, essentially trying to bring on securities on chain, testing the bounds of real world into crypto and back and forth. And they have been working with Chainlink. Chainlink was mentioned in this report multiple times as the interoperability layer, thanks to CCIP. Some of you guys have this notion where Chainlink is just an oracle. Guys, they haven't been just an oracle for a long time now. They do much more. Oracle is almost this sort of side thing they do these days. Very powerful coin. This coin will be around in multiple cycles to come. I've said this for years now. If you remove Chainlink from crypto, crypto would come to a standstill, period. And there wouldn't be enough providers, whether you have Pyth and so on, to be able to bring on the market quickly enough. Chainlink is going to be here to stay, just like USDT or USDC. It is a staple. So is HBAR. The thing with HBAR, though, I'm also hedging here. It's a 10 billion market cap as well. It's done really well to move up the ranks recently. The reason why I love HBAR is because I've said this from the dawn of time. Its technology is the best. It is simply 10 out of 10. You can't get a better layer one than HBAR. It is novel. It is now open source. The way that they ran things from the very get-go always impressed me. And I could talk a lot about this coin, so I'll prevent myself from doing that. I've got decquillions of videos on the channel for you to go ahead and watch yourself. Recently, they announced a partnership with NVIDIA and Intel to do some crazy on-chain stuff, like you can see here. Every AI computation on Intel CPUs and NVIDIA GPUs will be immutably recorded on Hedera. The way that the very hash graph works itself, it's not a blockchain, it's not a DAG, it's something I believe far better. And it was created by Lehman Bard, the founder of Hedera. He's an absolute genius. Charles was a bit disappointed that guys like Lehman were not actually at the crypto summit, or at least invited to the crypto summit, which I do believe. Lehman and Silvio Micali from Algorand are like two of the absolute geniuses in crypto. If you're someone who loves crypto and wants to learn more about it, other than the money side of things, research and watch every video you can from Lehman and also Silvio Micali. Your mind will be blown. Also, there is a possible HBAR ETF on the side as well. Like I said, guys, way back over here, one thing you do want to assess is the made in the USA coins. Obviously, HBAR is one of them. The next coin is Ondo, and I don't have to talk too much about Ondo. I think you guys have seen enough content from me regarding this amazing, amazing coin. Only 117,000 holders. For reference, as I say here, you got some of these meme coins are like, joke coins up way more on-chain holders. Obviously Ondo would have a fair few off-chain, but needless to say, for how young this coin is, it is doing quite well. They've also, again, launched the Ondo chain here, so an omni-chain network for real-world assets, which means it's a network that's able to connect to any other layer one blockchain and provide liquidity based on all of the partners I mentioned before from here on Chainlink, right? All of these guys here, Pantera, Fidelity, BlackRock, Wisdom Tree, BNY Mellon, and so on. It's pretty crazy stuff when you start looking into it, okay? Considering the TVL has been spiking in this sort of bearishness, I think it's an indication of what's to come. Guys, this is all without Ondo Global Markets and the Ondo chain. So 1 billion TVL on two products right now. Imagine when they bring on pretty much, Wall Street 2.0. It's going to be amazing. Next stop, 10 billion and beyond, to say the absolute least. ICP. Now, I've added ICP here. Some of you guys like Kyron. There's so much, flaws with ICP and so on. There are flaws, and I'll mention one here in a moment. But there are so many bullish things about ICP, like, again, I can't mention them all in this video. I just think the technology is far superior to any other blockchain layer one. Not Hedera. Hedera is kind of like the enterprise side of things. These guys are actually working with Hedera, but they're more so focused on Web3. Hedera is servicing mainly Web2, the real world, with obviously inbounds into Web3. And ICP is the opposite way around. More Web3, also working with Web2. 2.5 billion market cap, so a little bit of a smaller play here, but you can just see that the revenue is no joke, all right? The revenue here amongst every other layer one in the space, they've come up fourth on the last 3 months. So some of you guys were complaining about the revenue on ICP. Well, here's a matter of fact. 6.7 million revenue, again, behind Solana, ETH, and Tron. They're doing very, very well. And as a matter of fact, so well, they're processing 4,000 transactions a second, equivalent of 800,000 transactions on Ethereum. The reason is because a transaction for ICP is technically a message. A message can call multiple different things all in the one. So it does multiple transactions in the one. And you can actually see here, if we pull up all of the total transactions on any cryptocurrency, it's pretty much a battle between Solana and ICP for first and second, depending on the time frame here. So they're doing quite a lot. It's pretty incredible. Also, they have a lot of developers, guys. This is where the true magic happens. A lot of devs equals eventually a strong ecosystem. And Dominic from ICP, the founder here, has mentioned that there is likely a strong chance that these guys will be one of the top, if not the top, layer one blockchain in crypto for total developers. All right. Now, these guys come in like second or third right now. I think maybe fourth for total devs in the last 12 months. So this would, of course, not be a surprise, but it's a very, very good sign. In saying that, the developers and the overall use of ICP in terms of a DeFi perspective hasn't caught up to it yet. 31 million TVL, of course, trending down as the market trends down. People are just taking money out of crypto. They don't have a lot of applications, but that's the thing. They are processing a lot of transactions. Some of these are into node messages, sure, but a lot of this is, of course, coming from, I think, a sort of blend between crypto and the real world transactions here. I think they're cooking up something, and I think eventually the crypto side of things in terms of the DeFi TVL will, of course, catch up. Speaking of Charles, because we've mentioned it already with HBAR, Charles is looking to work with ICP, which is going to be interesting because ICP is so far ahead of the competition when it comes to the tech. Chain key cryptography, if you guys want to look into that, it's got a lot to do with able to have cross-chain messages and really seamlessly interact with Bitcoin. Charles is looking to make Cardano a layer 2 of Bitcoin in some way, so there could be some crossover here. And they've recently had a partnership here with HBAR, and the sort of connection is going to come in the way of AI. I think HBAR wants to use ICP's canisters or smart contracts for AI purposes. And in that as well, you can completely host anything all on-chain on ICP, you know, in a decentralized way. Actually, Dominic's made again, the founder of ICP, has made an apparent point that if Bybit was completely run on ICP, which could have been done, that there was no way that the Bybit hack could have happened, okay? So there is, of course, a great benefit to moving things on-chain, and that benefit can only happen when it's actually plausible, all right? When there's no limitations, no trade-offs. And ICP, I believe, right now has done exactly that. There's no trade-offs going from the real world services into crypto services. It's just a matter of time before rubber hits the road. And the last coin on this list is, as I mentioned, Render. So Render, of course, being AI, deep in, but there is a really big unlock here, a really big unlock with Render that you guys must absolutely be aware of. Okay, so it's funny that this coin is the smallest on this list at a 1.5 billion market cap just about. And I think a lot of you guys are very bearish on Render right now. You're forgetting the amazing, amazing connections that this coin has with Google, Microsoft, with NVIDIA, with Endeavor. Guys, you'll see some of the connections here in a moment. Paramount Studios, Apple. I mean, the list goes on. It's mind-blowing to me that people can be so bearish on this particular coin because originally this all started from the DeepSeek news, but this has been kind of like laid to rest. People, of course, have just capitulated as the markets come down as well. All right. So, you guys, look, RenderCon 2025 is coming up, their first ever sort of event, kind of like the summit for Ondo. Except rather than having BlackRock in attendance and Fidelity in attendance, these guys are having NVIDIA, the top of the AI game. They're going to be there talking at this event. I mean, you hear about this now and everyone goes, price isn't pumping from it. But when the event comes up, of course, so long as the market's in a pretty decent condition, it's going to, of course, pump the price of Render, just like we were calling with Ondo. In the last week of that particular event, everyone came on board. It's how crypto works, guys. Everyone's late to the party. It's not hard to be early. You have to have conviction in that, though. All right, you can see even with Stargate, the US is going to be forming a series of companies that are going to be investing in US AI projects here to at least, as Trump says, $500 billion. That is going to stimulate so much growth in the AI field in the US. And of course, this is particularly interesting because Render is a US-based AI company. And with the AI crypto czar being David Sachs, it makes complete sense to me. You can see David Sachs down here, that there would be possibly some layover, crossover into Render, particularly around Trump being so pro-crypto these days. All right, David Sachs has literally been working with Render. You can see this is a quote from Jules. Yes, we spoke last year about Render in detail. Vinny talks to him all the time as well. All right, this is a guy here, Vinny, who is very close with David, and Vinny is very close with Jules, again, the CEO and founder of Render. So I'm like, kind of helping you draw the connections here. But again, I'm not trying to convince you to buy any of these coins. Matter of fact, this video is just designed to show you the coins that I would sleep well at night knowing I was in. There are many others, okay? But from my personal experience, these 5 definitely are up there, are right up there. Now, like I said, there is definitely a Bitcoin plan I would personally want to opt into depending on the situation. And that would pretty much be the bear market case. If we move sideways, I think alts are going to be just fine. They'll eventually go up. But for me, if we do go into an actual bear market, which I don't think we will, then Bitcoin is the choice first and foremost. But if you're holding these coins, I do believe they'll go up regardless. So, all right, that being said, I think I've said enough regarding the quality of the coins. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, leave me a like down below, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.